right, let's bring in for some guest analysis Alexis Rosenberg, federal trial attorney. Alexis, thank you so much for coming on early to be with us. As we are listening to these text messages, my question is this. I think you could argue that these are favorable either to the prosecution to say, here's motive for Karen Read to get rid of John O'Keefe because she was interested in Brian Higgins, but also I think the defense can argue on this cross-examination as they're coming in, this is evidence that somebody else wanted to get rid of John O'Keefe because of the interest in Karen Read. How do you play it, depending on what side you're on, for the jury to believe your version?
Judge Ashley, I agree with you 100%. First of all, it has been kind of boring listening to these texts as they drone on, which seems like forever. I think it can be played either way, like you said. I mean, it could be that the defense is going to say that we had this jealous potential, lover, and he was in the house the night of this incident, and maybe that's how the fight broke out, and that's how it happened. As well as the prosecution is can play it that they're trying to taint her as this person that, was more or less, I hate to use the word, cheating on the boyfriend.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, the other thing is, it's always hard. Number one, the text messages being read are in such a monotonous voice, right? So it's just kind of droning, so to speak, if you're just listening. And even though they're up on the screen, if you're just listening, I think it can be hard to say, wait a minute, was that Brian Higgins or was that Karen Read? Is there a different way to present text messages, or is the reality with trial skills that somebody's got to read them as a witness that it can come in through, and that's just the way it is?
Some courts do allow you to have different people read that in, and they can have more inflections. It really depends on the jurisdiction. And I have known that some trial attorneys are able to have almost an actor read them in so that you can have that inflection. The inflection is the important part. And obviously, like you said, if there was inflection while reading this, it wouldn't come across as so boring to the jury.
Right. Let's bring in trial attorney still with us, Alexis Rosenberg. Alexis, we've seen this video before. Here's my question. In cross-examining a witness, talk a little bit with our viewers about the purpose, the goal of cross-examination, because this cross-examination started yesterday. It's been going all day. Is it too long or not?
I don't think it's too long. The purpose of cross-examination is actually two things. One is to clarify points that may have been unclear that were missed in favor of your case. And then the second is to kind of nail down the elements that you need to support whatever that witness is testifying about. So here, I do like how he said squaring off, and it seems that those two individuals didn't learn in kindergarten, keep your hands to yourself, that's for sure.
That is a great description of it, Alexis. All right, and watching that video, my other question is, I think it's hard because the defense, we know the overall theory of the case, something happened to John O'Keefe inside of that home. He was killed, cover up, Karen Read's being blamed, but there are a lot of little pieces to that. And so I just wonder how much closing argument is going to have to make sense of all those pieces for the jury.
I think this is setting it up. Alan Jackson is setting up that there was this tension and that there was a history that we're seeing on video of them roughhousing, squaring off, fighting stance, whatever terminology you want to use, and that it would support that would, as the alcohol was continuing to flow, that would potentially carry over inside that house. I think this video is very important for the defense.
Alexis, it's all coming together, and I think the defense is doing a very good job looping together John O'Keefe, Brian Higgins, and now adding Brian Albert to say, okay, so who left the bar to then go to 34 Fairview? Well, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Mr. O'Keefe. It's kind of taking Karen Read out of the equation, so to speak.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job at lining up that timeline, who was there around the interactions leading up to the time that presumably he ended up being killed.
So how do How do you think the Commonwealth is faring at this point in time? We know there's a special prosecutor. We know they've presented evidence in a different order. They're presenting some different evidence. They're using Karen Reed's own words against her and picking clips from interviews that she's done. How do you think it's going overall for the Commonwealth?
Judge Ashley, right, the clips that she did from those interviews, usually you don't have that as a prosecutor. So that is quite interesting little mix in this trial. My feeling is it's not going as great as the prosecution had hoped.
Yeah, and I think the defense is also, though, they're not swinging a bat, they're poking holes. The first trial, I felt like they came out swinging. This time, I think they have to be more focused because of the way the Commonwealth's presenting the case.
Well, I think Alan Jackson is getting a little spicy sometimes, but definitely on this cross, he's taking it for him very light-handedly. He is just going, like you said, and poking holes at what what the prosecution is trying to make.
Yeah, this case is something else. Always appreciate you, Alexis Rosenberg. Thank you so much for joining us and your expertise.